The game never stops, and neither do we. Welcome to the SDH Network. We're always around the corner from everywhere, and it's time for your Morning Espresso, brought to you by Oglethorpe University, Atlanta's premier undergraduate learning experience and soccer powerhouse. I'm Jason Longshore, and some weekends just hit you all at once. They don't ease you in at all. You had a World Cup draw on Friday and a schedule come out on Saturday that shaped the next 7 months of conversation for all of us. Mo Salah lit a fuse under Liverpool's season on Sunday, for better or worse. And on Saturday, Lionel Messi, at 38 years old, was slicing and dicing defenses to lead Inter Miami to their first MLS Cup. Everywhere you look, the game's shifting beneath our feet. Let's get to work on trying to make some sense of it, starting with the World Cup draw. The U.S. men's national team, they're going to feel pretty good about this group. There's a lot of familiarity, a lot of opportunity. They will play Australia, Paraguay, and one of the UEFA playoff winners. They have played Australia and Paraguay lately and won those matches. Mauricio Pochettino called those friendlies reference points. But Christian Pulisic and Tyler Adams are both clear. You don't take anything for granted at a World Cup. The U.S. will open on June 12th at SoFi Stadium against Paraguay. It's a chance to take control early of a group that they should believe that they can win. They are the favorites to win it, according to the Juice Box folks. I don't think they are a locked-in favorite. I think they are the favorite. I think they should be expected to win this group. I think the FIFA rankings would point you in that direction as well. But it's not a group that they should take lightly either, and that's an interesting balancing act. I think some groups you see where you have at least a game in it that you feel like, okay, we're going to win that. I don't think you have any easy wins in this group. I don't think you have any games that you cannot win either. So it is a group of opportunity. I'm liking that phrasing more and more and more. 5-match unbeaten streak right now for the U.S. was capped by the 5-1 demolition of Uruguay. So the confidence is very high with this group right now, but you got to be sharp from match day one. Mexico's draw, a little bit different emotions for them. Javier Aguirre, he immediately dismissed the idea that this group was easy. It's got South Korea, South Africa, and a European playoff team in it. El Tri will open the entire World Cup against South Africa in Mexico City, a rematch of 2010 where South Africa pulled the famous upset on the goal from Shabalala. Edson Alvarez spoke openly about the responsibility that El Tri feels opening the tournament. Historically, Mexico has been great on home soil. They've overachieved. They've reached the quarterfinals in 1970 and in 1986. But those expectations can cut both ways. And one thing that's interesting about the roadmap that is now in front of us, if Mexico wins their group and wins their round of 32 match, and England wins their group and their round of 32 match, those two would meet in Mexico City in the round of 16, which would be absolutely amazing in terms of drama and everything, because England has not necessarily had a good time at the Estadio Azteca in their history. Just go back and watch clips from 1986. Canada, they may have won the draw from a logistics standpoint alone. They will play in Toronto and in Vancouver. It's comfortable for them. The opener, though, 3 o'clock in Toronto. Heat management will be a theme for this for sure. And then they'll shift west for matches in front of big crowds at BC Place in Vancouver. Jesse Marsh has already said that he will be scouting, he will be working, he will come into this tournament, I think, with some optimism. Their group with Switzerland and Qatar in it is, again, not easy, but there is opportunity for Canada to get out of the group stage for the first time ever. And you have to look at South America as well, because South American teams are historically dominant when the World Cup lands in CONCACAF territory. In Mexico, Brazil won one, Argentina won one. In the U.S. in 94, Brazil won that. So you look south and you look at Argentina's group. I think it is a very comfortable group for Argentina, with Algeria, with Austria, with Jordan. I think according to the Opta computers, that's actually the most difficult group, which I do not agree with at all. I don't think it's difficult for Argentina. Maybe it's difficult for who comes out second, because that does feel like a toss-up. But I don't think that is a difficult group for Argentina. Brazil's group is a little trickier with Morocco, who I think is one of the top teams out of Pot 2, Haiti, and Scotland. Carlo Ancelotti's biggest question will be getting the defense correct and midfield balance. Casemiro, can he have the legs to go in this tournament at 34 years old? Colombia, Ecuador, Paraguay, Uruguay all have paths that they feel confident in getting to the knockout rounds. You put all this together in the World Cup draw from Friday and the schedule coming out from Saturday, it just reaffirms that preparation will matter as much as talent in 2026. You'll have climate extremes. You will have hydration breaks in the middle of each half, not at the 30th minute of each half, which I've always felt was dumb. It's going to be in the middle. It's going to be 3 minutes mandated. Hey, more commercials, I guess. But it will be an opportunity to hydrate in the middle of the half. That's going to be very important. You're going to have some teams that have big travel distances. You're going to have some that don't have as much. Spain, for example, will play their first 2 games here in Atlanta. That's good for them. That's easy for them. 3 opening ceremonies. You're going to have an opening ceremony in each country when they host their first game. Sure. You're going to have a halftime show for the final. Sure. This is going to be a very different World Cup than anything we have seen. And honestly, I cannot wait for this thing to get started next June. All right, let's go to England. Mo Salah, his eruption in the mixed zone. It's one of the most explosive mixed zone interviews in recent Premier League memory. He questioned Arne Slot. He questioned the club's direction. He suggested that he's been scapegoated compared to others. Liverpool are not in a good spot. We've talked about this, honestly, all season. Mo Salah is not in a good spot. He hasn't played well this year. He's out of form. The African Cup of Nations will take him away next week. Sources around Fenway Sports Group indicate that they're leaning towards backing Arne Slot, which is pretty remarkable considering Mo Salah's status as the face of the club for nearly a decade. But it did feel like he was extremely out of line by taking this public in the manner that he did. You could see the Liverpool press officer behind him not happy about what was being said. Now, he did train today. The decision on going to play in Champions League with Liverpool in Milan is still pending. It could be the start of a lot of tabloid conversation in Liverpool. So stay tuned. Buckle up, Liverpool fans. Let's go to Fort Lauderdale. Inter Miami, they lifted their first MLS Cup 3-1 win over Vancouver. Lionel Messi produced the highlight moment. It was a steal. It's Lionel Messi defending high up the field. He forces the turnover from Cubas and then a perfect pass to Rodrigo de Paul, who is not who you expect to score the go-ahead goal, but he did. It was the entire collective, though, in my opinion, for Miami in this match. De Paul, Matteo Silvetti, Tadeo Ashende. The entire group did the job. And you go back to the goal that closed it out with Ashende finishing a unbelievable first touch and then second touch with a volleyed pass by Messi. Miami was the better team in the key moments. Messi scored 3 goals in the playoffs, but he assisted on 9. The supporting cast around him is what elevated this group. There was a lot of emotion for this team as well. It was the final match for Sergio Busquets, for Jordi Alba. Alba had the secondary assist on the final goal, and he collapsed afterwards. I think partially exhaustion, partially emotion, knowing that he had done it there. Javier Mascherano turned into a player again, running out onto the field and hugging him. And yes, some people got very upset about that, and so what? If you want to give him a retroactive red card because he ran out in the field to hug somebody in their last game, go ahead, but you're kind of missing the point if that's what you're complaining about. Honestly, I think there's a lot of complaining about Miami that is entirely missing the point. This is a good thing for the league because you need teams with ambition to push this league forward. We've talked about this here in Atlanta since 2017. The league needs to spend more and push the boundaries a little bit more. Not entirely, don't get rid of salary caps, none of that. I'm not that. It's never 0 or 100. There are steps in between those two. And this is what I'd like to see for Major League Soccer. And I'd like to see Inter Miami be a catalyst for that, just like I think Atlanta was a catalyst for that a few years ago. More spending, higher level players coming in, Let's raise the bar for this league. Because what's so wonderful about it, and I think Vancouver is an example of this, other teams, Philadelphia winning the Supporters' Shield, an example of this. Just because you allow teams who want to be ambitious and go spend more, just because you allow them to do it, doesn't mean that others can't find other ways to keep up. Philadelphia has done that. Vancouver, they were unlucky. They could have won this match. They had 3 balls hit a post in a sequence in the second half that could have given them the 2-1 lead. It's a crazy moment. The shot was a double post, and then the follow-up hit the post again. Just a wild game, and Vancouver had every opportunity to win it. They were the better team for long stretches. Miami had to sit back and defend, which isn't something that normally we would associate with them, but they got it done. I want to see the league continue to grow, and it's not going to grow when there are constant complaints about a team that is trying to force that growth. So, look, Miami are your champions. They were the best team this season, and in the Major League Soccer format, they went through the playoffs and got it done. And they got it done, I think, with a lot of style. This is a good thing. They're going to move into their new stadium in Miami next year. They might have to play a CONCACAF game at Fort Lauderdale. We'll see. We'll see how all that goes. But that CONCACAF game is going to be important. I think that's the next step for Major League Soccer, and I've said it for a little while here. To be the league that is attainable for MLS right now. They want to be one of the best leagues in the world. They are one of the best leagues in the world. I mean, I don't know how many leagues around the world, and you look at all the countries that play in FIFA, we're talking 200 or so. All of them have leagues. MLS is in the top 20 easily. I think they're in the top 10. You can argue that. It could be top 15, wherever it falls. Okay, fine. That's one of the best leagues in the world. I've said all along that I think the goal should be to get to be the 5th best league in the world. That would be passing Ligue 1 in France, and I think that is attainable in the next decade. I really do. But the way that starts is right now you got to pass the best league in this hemisphere, which is Brazil. The Brazilian league is the strongest. They have won the Copa Libertadores consistently in the last decade. That's your measuring stick. You're not going to get there without spending more money on more talent. That's just a fact. And I think what you're seeing is MLS teams are showing that they can spend that money and they can also make that money in the transfer market as well. And that is very, very, very important to continue this growth. You have to have better teams than the Brazilian teams. And in CONCACAF, you have to have better teams than the Mexican teams because they are the ones who have dominated the CONCACAF Champions Cup. That needs to change. Miami needs to be a team that goes into CONCACAF and wins. That needs to be the next expectation. There's going to be other MLS teams in CONCACAF that are going to have that opportunity too. But that has to be the next step. Be the best team in this hemisphere. Be the best league in this hemisphere. And then we will see what happens down the line for Major League Soccer and its growth. But it was an amazing 30th season. So many great things about where this league is right now. Sponsorship money is up. Viewership was up. Everything feels like it's growing in the right direction ahead of a World Cup next year. And then what do you do with that momentum? That's going to be the key from 2026 and beyond. And maybe the schedule change is going to be a big part of capitalizing on that momentum. All right, more on this edition of the Morning Espresso. I mentioned Brazil. Let's go to Brazil. The relegation fight on the final day was chaos. You had 9 simultaneous matches, 5 teams fighting for survival, the table swinging wildly with every goal. Santos stayed up. Internacional was going down at one point. They stay up. Fortaleza went down. But when we talk about Santos, it comes down to the hero, and Neymar deserves his flowers. He delivered one of the most impactful 3-week stretches of his career. A goal in a must-win match over Sport Recife, a vintage hat trick against Juventude, and a brilliant playmaking performance in the 3-0 win yesterday over Cruzeiro that secured survival. After the match, I mean, he was raw. He was honest. He said, I came for this to try to help the best way I can. These have been tough weeks for me. If it wasn't for the people around me, I wouldn't have played these matches. He's going to have knee surgery now, meniscus issue, but he keeps Santos safe. And he is definitely in Carlo Ancelotti's plans if he is healthy for next summer's World Cup. Let's bounce back to Europe. Title races tightened over the weekend. Spain is where things are getting interesting. Real Madrid, if you pay attention to Marca, is in crisis mode. 2-0 home loss to Celta Vigo. According to Marca, Xabi Alonso's future may come down to Wednesday's Champions League match against Manchester City. Here's why. Real Madrid have won 2 of their last 7. They've gone from 5 points ahead of Barcelona to 4 points behind. 2 red cards against Celta exposed a fragile patchwork backline. That's been going on for a while, though. Tensions with key players, and yeah, Vinicius Jr. is part of this. They're rising. Florentino Perez reportedly held a crisis meeting in Madrid that went past 2 a.m. Zinedine Zidane's name came up, but he's reportedly going to take the France job after the World Cup. Maybe he'd be a stopgap. Jurgen Klopp's name came up because it does with any high-profile opening, which it's not open yet, but according to Marca in Madrid, the message is pretty blunt. Beat Manchester City, or there might be changes. Barcelona, they look steady and sharp. 5-3 win over Real Betis. They are getting goals from all over the place right now. They look balanced, but maybe not totally secure. Giving up a lot of goals, but scoring a ton right now. Is that sustainable? We're going to find out over time. England, it's a 3-way knife fight. Aston Villa's late 2-1 win over Arsenal jolted the Premier League into a real race. Arsenal's got a lead. Aston Villa is in this conversation. Manchester City are lurking. We will see. 2 points on top for Arsenal. Serie A, Big 3 tightening up. Napoli 2-1 win over Juventus. They are in the top spot. Inter right behind them. Milan can join the chase. They play today. Roma and Bologna are hanging on, but they need a run to stay in the mix. Ligue 1, Lyon, they sit atop Ligue 1. PSG looking a little flat right now. No PSG player in the top 6 scorers in the league. I mean, I think there's some tension in Paris, but this is also a team that's battling a ton of injuries at the moment, and I think they are hoping to dial it up once the calendar turns to 2026, which is what they did last year, by the way. They struggled early in the season before becoming a monster in the second half of the year. We'll see if Luis Enrique can dial that up again. And in Scotland, Hearts beat Celtic at Parkhead to stay atop the Premiership. Celtic have a game in hand. Wilfred Nancy, this was his first match. But Hearts look like a team that is believing that they can do this. Celtic will grow, and they were all over Hearts in this game. They had the majority of the chances. They hit the bar multiple times. They pulled one back late, but lost 2-1. I think they're going to be okay, but I'm curious to see where this goes. Harry Kane, as we get to the refill, headlines from all over the world. Harry Kane came off the bench, scored 3 goals in the second half as a substitute. He has 58 goals in 2025, his best delivery in a calendar year ever. Chelsea's Women's Super League unbeaten run ends at 34 matches. Everton delivered the shock over the weekend there. Marc Dos Santos officially named LAFC's next head coach. They go for continuity over a big name from elsewhere. Gus Poyet, he leaves Jeonbuk Motors after a league and cup double in the K-League, which means one of Asia's biggest jobs is now open. Talked about Milan playing today. Santiago Jimenez, his minutes have been shrinking, and there are rumors increasing about a possible move in January for the Mexico national team striker. Greece's Giants, they all win. Panathinaikos dropped points in this one, so things get interesting in the Greek Super League. Tigres and Toluca, that's going to be your Liga MX final. First-time matchup in the final, loaded with all kinds of storylines. We'll be getting into that as the week goes on. Racing, they eliminated Boca Juniors in the Argentine semifinals. They will go to the Clausura final. Adrian Martinez with his first goal in over 900 minutes to eliminate Boca Juniors. Racing had 2 red cards in the quarterfinal, but they were able to get it done. This team just keeps surviving right now. They'll get Santiago Sosa back for the final, and they'll find out who they play later today. San Diego Wave, they win the World Sevens competition. They swept all 5 matches down in South Florida. $2 million will go to the San Diego Wave for that one. And the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup will have to shrink a little bit in 2026, coming back to 7 rounds because of the World Cup pause next summer. The calendar just makes it too difficult to get all of these games in. Also, the league calendars are complicated. The back half of the year is very crowded with midweek games. There just aren't the windows to have the larger Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup tournament in 2026 because of the World Cup being here. So fewer professional teams from each league involved. And look, I know people have opinions, but you literally don't have a whole lot of options here because of the calendar. The calendar is what the calendar is, and the World Cup is what the World Cup is. And we know how big of a deal this is going to be next summer. This happens, they need to sort it out going forward so it doesn't happen on a regular basis. But 2026 is going to be a special year. It was a special weekend. It was a busy weekend. Messi lifted Miami to a title. Mo Salah popping off in the mix zone. World Cup draw laying out the pathways for the U.S., for Mexico, for Canada, for all the heavyweights around the world. Tonight, we keep it all rolling. 8 o'clock, soccer over there, presented by Around the Corner Lager, powered by NoFo Brewing, live from the Brewhouse Cafe. We'll break down all of the fallout from the draw, including Lionel Scaloni being forced to wear gloves to deliver the World Cup trophy. That was not supposed to happen. We'll recap the action around the world. We'll preview Champions League and more this week. Of course, more picks of the week. We'll get into that this evening as well. 8 o'clock, you can watch on YouTube, on Twitch, on X. And I'll see you back here tomorrow morning for another edition of the Morning Espresso, because the game never stops. And neither do we. Adios, y'all.